In its latest crop progress report, the USDA said farmers across Nebraska had planted 14% of this year's corn crop. As you'll see in our footage from fields across the northeastern corner, ideal weather from dawn to dusk should help jump that number for Monday's release. When we talked with John Meuret from Meuret Grain Company on Wednesday morning, he thought Nebraska planters would add another 40 to 50% for the week. We started our marketing segment by asking how many of those acres would shift from corn to beans when the last planter leaves the field.
You know, we've seen a little bit of switching to beans, but for the most part, not a lot. We think there's a couple things wrong with USDA. First of all, the overall acres is a little bit less, 2 or 3 million acres less than what we think it actually is.
In corn, you mean?
In corn, in the total acres, Jeff.
Total
and so
acres.
when we look at the total acres, we think there's 2 or 3 million that come back into play on the June 30th report.
Okay.
And we think we probably are going to switch 2 or 3 million acres of the total pie will go back to beans, but that's still going to leave us close to 96.5 million acres of corn. So farmers, for the most part, like corn. And so we think they're going to go to the ground and put corn in, and there's maybe some beans, but not near as much locally as what we thought was possible.
So you think that corn number is going to jump from 95.9 up?
I do. I think it goes higher.
You don't worry about seed shortages or anything
Well,
like that?
I think there's seed issues. I think the quality's not very good, but we still think that people are going to put it in the ground, and if anything, they're going to be cautious on how early they plant. That's why last week people were a little disappointed with Iowa and Nebraska. We think that's related to seed quality, not necessarily the timing here of going to the ground. So,
as we talked today on Wednesday morning, soybeans are getting a huge jump. They saw one yesterday, and it's a big part due to Argentine supply and what they think is going to come out of that country. Is 15 realistic? I mean, what challenges, and remember, we're talking on Wednesday morning, so by Saturday this could change, but what has to happen to reach above 15? You
know, I think we've got to find more bad news. We need to find a smaller crop in South America, and then we probably need to get some friendliness from the corn. And today, as we talk, soybeans are being pulled back a little bit by corn. Corn is lower this morning. Corn exports continue to be disappointing, and we need kind of the all cylinders to fire here before we can take it above 15. But we think it happens. We think it happens kind of quick like.
Yeah, the exports for corn, I mean, China is obviously helping out this week, or at least rumors to China. Do you think that continues, and are you worried about export potential as we go forward?
I'm not. I think the old crop, we would sell all we have. And so Chinese have been small buyers of old crop corn. We can see on an announcement this morning. New crop corn, they've been a fairly large buyer. But we're going to have a lot of corn come October here, at least we better. So no, I'm not concerned at all. We need China as a trading partner. As far as the old crop, we see some of the usual buyers going elsewhere. So Taiwan, Japan, they've all found alternatives to source their corn this year. So the Chinese business is good. We need it. We're hungry to export some grain out of the U.S.
Yeah, so with those exports, with a potentially short supply right now, a tight supply right now, at least before we get into harvest, what's your outlook for corn? Are you positive?
I'm not positive old corn. I think old corn can get back to 6.5, but that's about enough. There's just not the exports to take us there. The new corn, I'm fairly negative, as you know. We think with 96 plus million acres, that will take us down ultimately towards $3.50 or $4 this fall.
You think maybe this is a chance right now to unload what you have, or
yes,
at
I
least
do.
a forward contract?
Yes, I do. If you get back to 6.5 on old corn, I'm a seller. New corn, if you can get 5.5 or close to $6 board, I would be a seller as well.
So lay it out for beans then, because it's extremely favorable right now. But
you bet.
If it does get to 15, God, that's a hard number to turn down.
Well, the 15 is the old crop, Jeff, and the problem is the new crops are 12.5 or $13 cash this morning. So, the problem is that you're 15 on old crop and you're 13 on new crop. That makes it hard for the farmer to sell new crop. But if you happen to see 13 and a quarter or 13.50, because I'm negative corn, I think you need to sell beans.
How are you in terms of basis around this part of Nebraska?
Northern Nebraska generally will lag the state here because we have a disadvantage of some rail up here. But it's stronger than normal. You can sell option price to July today, which is historically a very good number. The problem is the board is broke 50 cents. So you pick up 10 on the basis, but your board's 50 cents lower. So for the farmer, I think he'd rather have a little weaker basis than a $7 board.
Do you see a stronger one going into harvest though?
We should stay strong in the old crop here as we scrounge up the last bushels. As we get to new crop, I'm afraid we could see cheaper values as we try to put a big crop away. So as you saw in this country this week, there's a lot of ground that's been planted and tore up. So we should have plenty of grain.